Ever wonder how some of Hollywood's biggest roles almost went to completely different actors? From being too old at 29 to laughing at the worst possible moment, these stars lost iconic roles for reasons you won't believe. Some were one step away from fame until everything changed. Henry Cavill came painfully close to becoming James Bond, and a single comment about his body stopped it cold. During the casting process for Casino Royale, Cavill made it all the way to finalist status. But during a screen test that required him to wear only a towel, the director pointed out that he looked a little chubby. That moment stuck. Even though Cavill impressed with the physical action required in the test, the role ultimately went to Daniel Craig. Cavill later acknowledged the feedback and treated it as motivation, but that brief assessment ended his first serious shot at playing 007. James Purefoy was cast as the face of a revolution, then disappeared behind a mask. Purefoy was originally hired to play V&V for Vendetta and even filmed for 3 weeks. Then he was suddenly replaced. Reports from the director and the actor who took over the role pointed to one very specific issue: the Guy Fawkes mask. It was difficult to animate and perform through, and the production didn't think it was working. Purefoy pushed back on claims that the mask itself drove him away, saying the split came down to creative differences. The real reason remains unresolved. Tom Holland lost out on a Star Wars role for one painfully simple reason: he couldn't stop laughing. During his audition to play Finn in The Force Awakens, Holland was performing opposite a scene partner who fully voiced a droid character. Instead of reacting in silence, the droid lines were delivered out loud with robotic sounds. That unexpected choice completely broke him. Once the laughter started, he couldn't recover, and the audition unraveled. The role slipped away not because of talent or fit, but because the moment became too funny to survive. Amanda Seyfried passed on a Marvel role because she thought the movie would fail. When Seyfried was offered the part of Gamora in Guardians of the Galaxy, she had serious doubts. One issue was the intense green makeup process, which she believed would take hours to apply and remove each day. But the bigger concern was the movie itself. Seyfried believed a film centered on a talking tree and a raccoon could bomb, and she feared being attached to a high-profile failure. She worried that starring in a major flop could damage her career, so she chose to walk away from the role. Russell Crowe turned down one of the biggest superhero roles ever for an oddly specific reason. Crowe was the first choice to play Wolverine in X-Men, but he worried about being boxed into a wolf image. At the time, he had just finished Gladiator, where his character featured repeated wolf imagery, including symbols on his armor and a wolf companion. Crowe didn't want to stack another wolf-themed role on top of that, and feared becoming known as Mr. Wolf. He passed on the part, even though much of the wolf imagery in Gladiator was later cut from the final film. Will Smith walked away from a career-defining role because the story didn't end the way he believed it should. Smith initially accepted the lead in Django Unchained after connecting with the story of a man fighting to rescue his wife from slavery. But as development continued, he realized he and the filmmaker disagreed on the core message. Smith wanted the movie to be driven by love, not revenge, and felt he couldn't connect to violence as the answer. Because of that difference, he chose to step away, and the role went to Jamie Foxx instead. Charlize Theron didn't just lose a role, she lost it after already being hired. Theron was officially cast as Roxy Hart in Chicago, a role she deeply wanted because of her background as a dancer and her emotional connection to the project. She believed she was going to make the movie. Then, everything changed. The director who cast her was fired during production, a new director stepped in, and the role was suddenly recast. Theron was removed, and Renee Zellweger took over the part. No scandal, no performance issue, just a behind-the-scenes shakeup that cost her the role. Olivia Wilde was passed over for a massive movie role for a reason that sounds unreal today. She was considered too old. When Wilde auditioned for The Wolf of Wall Street, she was told the feedback was that she seemed too sophisticated. Later, she learned what that really meant behind the scenes. The decision-makers thought she was old for the part. Wilde was 29 at the time. The role eventually went to Margot Robbie, launching her into stardom. That casting choice had nothing to do with talent, chemistry, or performance, just an age label that quietly closed the door. Andrew Garfield may have lost Spider-Man over one missed appearance. Garfield was expected to attend a major studio event in Rio de Janeiro, where Sony planned to announce him as the star of The Amazing Spider-Man 3. He traveled to Rio but didn't show up to the event itself, explaining that he was exhausted from jet lag and wanted to be left alone. The absence forced the studio chairman to scrap the announcement at the last minute. Soon after that incident, Garfield and Sony went their separate ways, and the Spider-Man franchise moved on without him. Paul Bettany nearly landed a breakout romantic role, but one detail stopped it instantly: his nationality. Bettany was seriously considered to play Emmett, the love interest in Legally Blonde, and the casting director even loved him for the part. But the producers decided the character needed to be a real American, and Bettany being British became a deal breaker. While the role eventually went to Luke Wilson, the actor the writers had pictured all along, Bettany was quietly passed over for something he couldn't change. No chemistry test, no performance issue, just an accent standing in the way. Chris Pratt almost lost a major movie role for one blunt reason: his weight. Early in his career, Pratt had gained more than 40 pounds while playing Andy Dwyer, and that size suddenly became a problem when he auditioned to play real-life baseball player Scott Hatteberg in Moneyball. He was flat out told he was too heavy to be cast. Without money for a trainer, Pratt took extreme steps on his own, relying on constant running, crash dieting, and cutting out alcohol. That effort paid off, and he didn't just get another audition, he ultimately landed the role that nearly slipped away.